welcome and to another episode of Dire Consequences. I'm Claire Dyer here on Unprecedented TV, where we like to give you the truth, and I personally like to have real people on to give them a chance to talk about any issue or to highlight something they feel that the public should be aware of. Now, today is going to be quite a serious episode today, quite hard-hitting, to discuss issues regarding the police. Across the UK, thousands of people every day place their trust in the police. They are sworn to serve, protect, and sometimes they actually cross the line. This turns into trauma. They turn power into fear. Most remember the kidnap and murder of Sarah Everard at the hands of police officer Wayne Couzens back in March 2021. And an inquiry into Couzens' case revealed multiple missed opportunities to stop him. Misconduct reports and indecent exposure incidents were overlooked during recruitment and career vetting, indicating systemic failure in internal investigations and oversight. There are many stories of lives changed forever. And today, my guest is a survivor and knows only too well the devastating effects to suffer abuse but at the hands of a police officer. So I would like to welcome my guest today, who we are going to keep her identity unknown for her own safety. And we'd like to welcome FJ 1200 to the show today.
Good evening, Claire. Thanks for having me on.
Thank you for coming on. I have to be honest, I struggled with that because obviously your story is very traumatic. So I would actually just like to hand over to you, because what you're doing is actually very brave to speak out about what has happened to you. So I'll let you explain what you have gone through.
Awesome. Thank you. So basically back in 2023, I met a person who was a police officer for the Met Police. I met him through Tinder. It took about a month before we actually met up. And then, he was the perfect gentleman when we first got together. First 5 months were kind of blissful. I fell head over heels in love with him. I had been through a hell of a lot of trauma before I met him. I'd lost my husband. I'd lost my home. I'd lost my aunt and uncle, which were basically like parents. And he knew all this. And at the beginning was very supportive.
So you were in a vulnerable position at this time?
Yes, very.
And he came along almost like this hero who was going to change your life for the better.
Exactly, like this knight in shining armor on a white horse, couldn't do enough for me in the first 5 months we were together. And then it just all slowly fell apart.
So when did you notice the first signs then that things weren't right? How did that start?
When I got pregnant. So basically he had just told me that a woman that he used to work with had just had a baby by him in the January of 2023. And basically I was too scared to tell him that I was pregnant. Because he had basically outright said he didn't want anything to do with the child and all that sort of thing. So I was like, and I thought about it, I was like, well, I'm prepared to do it on my own, but he didn't like that. So the first abuse was when he kicked my twins from me, basically.
So he did what?
He beat me up, so I lost the twins.
Yeah, that's just absolutely awful.
And he was in a hotel with 2 other women while I was losing those twins.
Right. How did you find out about
that? Basically, he sent me a video and he panned the camera around and I clocked the hotel in the video. He reckoned he was setting up a crime scene because he was some special forces officer, which he turned out to be a lie. He was PC.
So when you met him, he made out to you that he was quite high up in the police force, but in
Yes,
actual fact, he was just a PC.
very senior officer. He made
But,
out he was. Yeah,
right, but he was just a standard PC,
that's
on the beat.
the Bobby on the beat, basically. Yeah.
Right. So somebody, he's the type of police officer that the members of public encounter every single day. Then,
Yes.
okay,
So after that, basically our relationship started to fall apart at that point. But he manipulated me to keep me in his life at that point. It made me feel guilty and stuff like that. So I kept getting back with him and I kept taking him back. And then finally in August of 2023, it all came to a head. He came round to talk to me and basically ended up punching me in the face, knocked me out. I woke up on my stomach in handcuffs with him doing the R word, and anally as well, which I don't know if I can say that, but yeah, that's what it was. I obviously came to, tried to scream, tried to push away from him because he was on the back of my calves. He knew I had strong legs. So he had put himself across the back of my calves so that I was pinned to the floor. So the only way I could move was kind of forward, but he was holding me by the waist. So I couldn't really move. And when I started screaming, that's when he strangled me until I was unconscious.
right.
And when I woke up, he was gone.
See, that is just absolutely disgusting. You say there's no words, but there are so many words, but words that you just probably can't use. And this picture that's being shown now, that's actually from an event that happened afterwards, wasn't it? Because you carry on with the story of what happened after what you've just told us, which obviously is just,
So basically,
horrendous.
I was too scared to report him.
Mm.
I didn't have to in the end because DCs ended up coming knocking on my door. It was like 8:30 one morning, and well, this happened. The R happened on the 10th. They came to me. I'm sure it was the 15th of August, about 5 days later.
You can say that word. You can say the word.
Okay.
Don't say that word.
To make sure I don't want to get in trouble.
No, just don't swear too much.
Honest. You know what I'm like as well.
Yeah.
So they ended up coming knocking on my door and they asked me if I knew this person, and I said yes. I said, is everything okay? What's wrong? And they were like, well, we've arrested him. I said, and why is that? Why does that concern me? And I was like, how did you know about me? Because he never really made me public. This was another thing.
So he kind of kept you secret then during your relationship.
Exactly that. So I was like, well, why does that concern me? And they said, well, it's because of you. Well, not just because of you. He's up for charges anyway. But we've had an anonymous tip off from somebody that me, saying that they were concerned about my welfare and my well-being around this person.
So somebody that clearly knows you had contacted them saying that they were concerned about you.
But now I don't think that's true. I think they found stuff on his phone when they arrested him that day.
Right. So the police themselves were already looking into him before you'd even reported him.
Yeah, they were already investigating him for sexual complaints at work, several.
So with other colleagues.
Yes.
So this clearly was never an isolated incident then. No. So from what it sounds, from what you're saying, that even prior to his relationship with you, there was already history there of maybe sexual harassment or assault on other women, but also co-workers.
Yeah, exactly.
Right. Okay, so they were already looking into this. So they came to you
Yeah.
Um,
Which is why I suspect that they found information and text messages between him and I, because I'd confronted him about what he'd done through WhatsApp.
right.
And I think they found those messages. That's why they came to me that day.
Right.
So anyway, they came in, they asked me what my relationship was like with him. And you know what? I broke down because it was the first time I felt safe enough to be able to say exactly what he had been doing to me. And
So,
you.
those police officers that came round to your house, you trusted them and felt that you were able to open up to them about what another colleague, another police officer had done to you.
They were so lovely. They were such nice ladies from the domestic violence special team, like for sexual crimes. And they were two very amazing ladies. They went above and beyond for me the whole time, which is why eventually I got given a trial date. He got put up on charge for rape, ABH, non-fatal strangulation, and misconduct for having illegal and lethal weapons in his home.
Right. Okay.
So he was actually charged for that.
Sounds a bit like a psychopath, doesn't it? A very narcissistic psychopath with not
You
very.
saw pictures of the person, and you said when you look at that face, it's demonic.
Yeah.
And the other thing I found out that was quite interesting, Claire, afterwards, is from the last couple of years, I never really knew about the black and white gang tag for the police uniform, the black and white Union Jack. And
the thin blue line.
I spotted it and I was like, no wonder I'm going through what I'm going through.
So a lot of people don't understand what that badge represents. And that badge was it's actually a charity badge, and it was to represent fallen police officers. But obviously, since Sarah Everard, so you've got Wayne Couzens, is it David Carrick? I mean, there's been others. That badge has now seemed to kind of represent that. And a lot of people find it offensive. And it was actually Mark Rowley. I can't remember the year. Was it 2023? It might have been earlier. He banned it, but didn't ban it. He said that they wouldn't be allowed, the Met Police wouldn't be allowed to wear it on their uniform. But obviously, to this day, many of them still do. Regardless of the fact that some people actually feel distressed by it and offended by it. And as you just pointed out, he wears that badge. And you would even looking at it on him, you would now associate it to almost, in my opinion, would be a club now.
Well, yeah, I would have gone near him if I'd known what that badge meant. I didn't at that time. But the other interesting thing, Claire, is, as you say, Mark Rowley in 2023 did kind of ban it, but also in 2023, very early in 2023, he came out and said he was going to clamp down on his officers. He was taking no rubbish from them. That's it. One strike rule and all this lot, and anything that was a grade 1 report would now be a grade 4 or whatever, make it worse, sort of thing. And of course, because of what I went through later that year, even the DI said to me, because of Mark Crowley cracking down, on his officers, they're going to hit him hard. So the DIs, the whole time, the DIs were with me. They were positive. They said, you've got more evidence than most rape victims. So I had conversations from when we met to the day we split up. So everything was in there, every single conversation about everything that ever happened. And then eventually in April of 2024, after being given a trial date of 2025, they dropped my case. The CPS decided to drop my case, and the only excuse they gave was lack of evidence. And what was the other thing they said? Something about my pictures not matching up to my complaints. And I said, but no, because they're screenshots from when it happened, so they're not dated the right time, because you've asked me for them, I've screenshot them and sent them to you. So they don't match up. But that was another excuse they used. I was devastated.
But they also had evidence, of other women coming forward as well.
They did.
And obviously, in the first instance, they came to you because they were already aware that there was something going on.
Yes.
And yet,
why the DIs couldn't understand why the CPS dropped it.
Why do you think they dropped it?
I think they just wanted their evidence for their misconduct case. And I even said this to the DIs when it first all kicked off. And I said to him, what I'm worried about is that you're going to get your misconduct case, yeah, and you're going to kick him out of the police force, and then you're going to leave me with my face in the dirt.
So they just wanted to get rid of him quietly then? Is that, you think they just wanted to get rid of him quietly?
Yeah.
Without it going public?
Before he could be sacked anyway, and he did that very quietly. Nothing was put out in the press about it.
Right.
They put out about his charges. He was in the newspapers about his charges, but they never did a follow-up story.
Right. So they just basically swept it under the carpet, got rid of him quietly without an actual conviction to add to the statistics, basically.
So then after that, after they dropped my case, everything went really quiet for a while. Then he had his misconduct case. And yeah, I did send him a bit of a nasty message because I was like, you deserve to get everything you get coming to you, because I was angry. My case had been dropped and he was basically walking away a free man, So
and who wouldn't blame you?
Pardon?
And I said, who wouldn't blame you?
Yeah. So I was angry. So I did spout some rubbish at him. And then I never contacted him again until I found out that he basically got a slap on the wrist for it. And I did send him another couple of messages at that point. And then I left it until August 2024. Now, I contacted him saying, I don't want to hear from you, because he was sending me messages on Instagram. Now, bearing in mind, up until he got, they decided to drop the case, he was under like a lot of restrictions legally. So he wasn't allowed anywhere near me or anything like that. He could be traced, let's put it that way.
Well, technically, I'm guessing one of those restrictions is he shouldn't be contacting you.
Yes.
But exactly. He was continuing to contact you.
Continuing to contact me, and all they kept saying to me is block and delete him. And I was like, no, this is harassment.
So you were reporting the fact that he was contacting you on social media platforms?
Yep. Even though on his bail conditions, he was not supposed to be in any contact, no way, shape, form, social media, messages, come into my house, nothing. I had to have cameras installed, extra locks put on my home, because I still live in the place where it all happens. So I've had to secure myself. I'm a single mother.
So how do you feel about the fact that you're having to protect your identity? How does that make you feel?
It makes me angry, because I should be able to come out nowadays and say exactly what happened, and they should pay the consequences for it. But they haven't. They've made my life hell, Claire.
Yeah, and I understand why, because you carry on and say what has happened to you since.
Right. So after contacting him in August and telling him I didn't want to hear from him anymore, basically he waited till October. I hadn't contacted him at all. He tried to ring me on the 5th of October via social media.
Last year.
He tried to call me on an old Instagram account. And basically, I think because I didn't answer him and I had cut him off because I'd got a new phone number and everything, so he couldn't contact me via phone. The only way he got hold of me was this old Instagram account. But luckily, I didn't even see it. It was only I went in there one day and noticed there was this missed call from him. Actually, it was the day after the next part, which is where they turned up the next day and arrested me.
Who turned up the next day?
The police, but it was my local police. It wasn't Met Police.
Okay.
So they turned up the next morning to come and arrest me for harassment, stalking, and and extortion. Right? So I laughed at him. I went, "What do you mean harassment, stalking, and extortion?" I said, "What are you on about?" I said, "I haven't contacted that person for 2 months. Like, it's been 2 months. I told him 2 months ago, I don't want to hear nothing more from him." I said, like, "What is going on?" So they were like, "Well, you're under arrest for this, 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 and this." Well, I just had a new tattoo done. So, not going to lie, she was grabbing up my arm where I'd had it done. And I was like wiggling my arm away from the female PC because I was like, "Stop touching my tattoo." I said, "I've just had that done 3 days ago." With that, she stuck her fingers into my tattoo and dragged her nails down my tattoo. She's ruined half my tattoo. And then in the meantime, because she'd done that, obviously I went a bit like limp sort of thing because she's
Well, I can imagine it hurt.
Yeah, it really
And she
hurt.
obviously knew that it was going to hurt as well.
Well, you've seen the pictures of exactly, you can see the thumbnail where she shoved her thumbnail into my tattoo. And then because I went limp, they both clamped my wrists into handcuffs and broke both wrists. And the thing was, I left my property with no handcuffs on, Claire. So there was no need for that kind of force anyway. They were just being bully boys.
So they put you in handcuffs but broke both your wrists, but then took you out of the handcuffs.
I had 3 fractures in I think it was my right wrist and 2 in my left.
And that was the police officers that did that.
Yeah. There was severe bruising. I've been left with permanent nerve and tendon damage. I get really bad pains in my wrist all the time now. Yeah.
And what's happened as a result of them doing that?
Right. So basically, there's a little bit more to add to it. So they put me in custody for 16 hours. They didn't feed me. They didn't give me anything to drink. They offered me only tap water, which I can't drink.
I have heard of other cases of this happening to people.
Yeah. In the end, I did ask one officer for a coffee, and he bought me a coffee because I thought, well, the boiled water's got to be better than the tap water. So they bought me a coffee in the end, but that was after about 10 hours. In the meantime, I'd had 3 seizures while I was in custody and had begged for help. And when I had the last seizure, do you know what they did? They opened the cell door and they could see that I was like not with it. I heard them saying, "I think we might need to call an ambulance. She's not good." So they just got a young officer, like a duty police officer from the custody suite. They got him, sat him on a chair with my door open and just sat there watching me like a freak show.
This is unbelievable.
And
do you know what? I listened to your story, so and I'm shocked, but I don't know why I'm shocked because I'm not surprised. I have heard stories like this quite a lot. Obviously, arrests for different reasons, and I know of somebody personally who actually had a stroke in police custody, and the treatment that he received as well was absolutely disgraceful. There's also an element of bullying tactics. They have no care or duty to anyone. It's almost like, I mean, not in your case, but they've already decided when they've arrested someone in a lot of cases that they're already guilty, that they're a criminal, that they're the lowest form of human being. But in your case, they would have been aware. They would have been aware of the lead up of all of this anyway. And you'd said to me, by the way, you've never ever been arrested before in your life, have you?
No, completely clean. This is the thing. When I got there, the custody sergeant, she was like, "Right, well, let's look you up then." And I was like, "Well, go on then." And she said, "What do you mean by that?" I said, "Well, go and have a look." And when she kind of like, the sergeant come over and he goes, "What's the verdict?" And she goes, "Absolutely nothing. No arrests, no criminal record, no nothing. Squeaky clean." I went, "Told ya." So they still drug tested me though, because apparently I told him I was a big drug user. So they drug tested me. That come back negative.
Well, hold on. Your ex the police officer, told them that you were a drug user.
Pardon, sorry, I had a cough.
Sorry. So your ex, the police officer, told the other colleagues that essentially you were a drug user.
A drug user, yes.
So they tested you with absolutely no evidence whatsoever.
Yeah, so he said I was a junkie and an alcoholic. So they tested me for alcohol, cocaine, and heroin, and it all come back clear. I was like, there, see, I said, you need to start listening to me, not the man who told me he was younger than he was.
We're running out of time. We've literally got 3 minutes, and you need to say what's happened. So you basically got charged, didn't you?
I did. I got charged with harassment for calling him a rapist, and that was the only reason I got the charges. Ended up with a 9-week suspended sentence for 18 months, a restraining order, which that's fine because I don't go near him anyway.
But the bottom line was they had absolutely no evidence, did they?
No, there was no evidence. And the only evidence they used in the courtroom was for the stalking and extortion, which had actually should have been redacted because it had been dropped, those charges.
So why do you think that this happened? Do you think that they targeted you because
I had the guts to speak out against one of their officers. That's why. That is 100% why.
So what as the result is, and I'm so sorry for speeding you up on this, but the result is from being at the hands of an abuser who's a police officer in a position of trust, you had the guts to obviously speak out and report him, and essentially you were punished. He got away scot-free, and you ended up with the criminal record.
Yeah. And I'm still being targeted because I get them coming to my house about my social media posts and stupid things.
They're still targeting you now.
Yeah, and I doubt they're overstocked, to be fair. But, I just don't even answer my door now. I speak to them through my camera, and 9 times out of 10, they just leave. But
I have a question for you. If you were Prime Minister, what would you change? How would you change things?
If what?
If you were Prime Minister, how would you change things? What would you want to change?
I would make sure that police officers are treated accordingly for their crimes and make sure they are committed for their crimes. Because right now it feels like a certain demographic of people are being let down because of the judicial system and the police.
Yeah. Would you say that the justice system is not fair?
The justice system is absolutely corrupt right now. Really.
And would you say that police officers are protected if they commit a crime?
Yes, obviously.
It does seem that if you try to stand up
free with no charges, and there's me who's done nothing wrong apart from call him what he is, and I'm walking away with a suspended sentence over my head and charges, which I've never had in my life.
Yeah.
So they've blackened my name because I dared to speak against one of their own, and I don't believe that.
Do you know, I'm so sorry that this is all we've now got time for today. We will have to have you come back on again as this moves on. But thank you so much to FJ 1200 for coming on and actually speaking out about her what has happened to her, even though she is still being targeted. And it does seem that when it comes to law enforcement, accountability is failing massively. The statistics highlight significant under-enforcement around violence and abuse by officers. Victims face an uphill battle reporting trusted people, and these police officers are trusted. We do trust them. The system definitely needs to change. These people should not be protected because in a system built on accountability, no one should be above the law, not even those who are enforcing it. So that's all we've got time for today. I want to thank her for being so brave, for speaking out and coming on and talking about what she has gone through, because it's absolutely horrendous. I'm Claire Dye. This is Dire Consequences, and please tune in where we will have real people with real issues and real stories.